Hi and welcome to Ryvis Rambles, where I talk about whatever the fuck I want. And it's time for another recap of the media I've consumed in the past 4 months. And let me tell you, I tried to watch and read less because last video took forever to film and edit, but then I just had to watch a shit ton of movies in the last 2 weeks alone. So I will try to keep my comments short for the sake of brevity. The meaning of my star rating is in the description, but just a little reminder, a low star rating doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it wasn't for me. And as always, we start with movies. I may be a tiny bit sick. The list is going to be a bit long. The 2 Downton Abbey movies, Viet and Uglies, You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah, Rewatch Manga, Weekend in Taipei, The Substance, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Grand Budapest Hotel, Blue Lock Episode Nagi, Inside Out 2, Utsukushikare Eternal, The Darjeeling Limited, Pride and Prejudice, Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The French Dispatch, Isle of Dogs, Rushmore, Fresh, Not Okay, Man on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, Nosferatu, and Our Little Secret. The first 2 movies I watched were both of the Downton Abbey movies. In the first one, Robert and Cora Crawley are informed that they will be visited by the royal family. However, the visit does not go as per plan and drama ensues. And in the second movie, the Crawleys go on a grand journey to the south of France to uncover the mystery of the Dowager Countess's newly inherited villa. While watching this movie, I had the same feeling as I had during the show, and the show officially finished after the 6th season. The 2 movies feel similar to bonus chapters in the book that aren't relevant to the plot. I thought for sure that Daisy was going to get married at the end of the first movie to, what's his name? I don't know his name right now, but doesn't matter. That didn't happen, that was a surprise. She is, however, married in the second movie already, and Thomas gets paired up as well. So we also have a happy Thomas for a change. That was also a nice surprise. Both movies get 3 stars. Then we have Vietnam. In the underground coal mines, Nam and Viet, young miners, face danger and darkness. One prepares to leave for a new life, but they must find Nam's father's remains, a soldier lost in a faraway forest, retracing the past through memories. Vietnam is a very artsy indie movie, and I thought it would be focused more on the relationship of the 2 main characters, but sadly the relationship is more on the side. It's also very much read between the lines, which is going to contradict with the next thing I'm going to say. Instead of showing me what happened to make me feel sad, the movie is telling me, look, this is what happened, that's bad, you should feel sad. But that didn't work on me. It's told in these very poetic monologues, which unfortunately didn't make me feel anything. One thing I have to mention though, without spoilers, one of them takes body parts in his mouth, which were very unexpected. So, 2 stars. Uglies place in a futuristic society divided into uglies and pretties, where cosmetic surgery is mandatory. Choosing to be yourself is the ultimate form of rebellion. And I have to say, the premise was very intriguing. The execution, not as much. The CGI is bad, the script is bad. It's very fast paced, but I appreciated it because I didn't want to watch any more of that. I did like the ending. It ends in a cliffhanger though. There are multiple books, so of course there will be a sequel, but I don't want to watch it, to be honest. 2 stars. You're So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah is about BFFs Stacy and Lydia, who are both planning epic bar mitzvahs. But it all unravels when a popular boy and middle school drama threaten to ruin everything. I have to say, some of the jokes made in this movie are pretty dated, and they did use some key phrases like getting cancelled, to be cool or whatever. It's a classic teenage comedy drama, but it did make me laugh a few times. It does have a very cathartic ending, 3 stars. Then I rewatched Nimona because I'm making a video about it, which will be published next year. A knight is framed for a crime he didn't commit, and the only person who can help him prove his innocence is Nimona, a shape-shifting teen who might also be a monster he's sworn to kill. I love it for so many reasons. As I said, video will come out. 5 stars. Weekend in Taipei. A former DEA agent and an ex-undercover operative revisit their romance during a fateful weekend in Taipei, unaware of the dangerous consequences of their past. It's a fun and solid action thriller. It has a shallow plot, it's quite predictable, but just as enjoyable for a one-time watch. Basically, what you see is what you get. 3 stars. The Substance. A fading celebrity takes a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. And I have a few issues with the word better, because just because you're older doesn't mean you're less worth anything, but I guess that's also kind of what the movie is about. Anyways, I loved it. The sound design is on point, the visuals are on point. It's really disgusting. Basically from the first second, a few people have complained about the ending, but I have to say I actually like it. And without any spoilers, I have to say in the end she does become a better version of herself because she's more humble and more accepting of herself. And that's pretty much why I liked it. Oh, and also, I have the same clock as in the movie. 4 stars. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox, a family man, goes back to his ways of stealing, unable to resist his animal instincts. However, he finds himself trapped when 3 farmers decide to kill him and his kind. I had Fantastic Mr. Fox on my to-watch list for a very long time because I'm a big fan of Wes Anderson, and as you've noticed in my listing, I've watched quite a few Wes Anderson movies in the past few months. Fantastic Mr. Fox is a stop motion. It still has the Wes Anderson charm, obviously. It's quite the whimsical movie, and I think I had a small headache while watching it, but I still enjoyed it, so 3 stars. Then I rewatched Grand Budapest Hotel. Gustav H., a concierge who works at a famous European hotel, must prove his innocence when he's framed for murder. In the process of doing so, he strikes up a great friendship with a lobby boy. I watched this one before and I remember not liking it. However, during my rewatch, I did quite enjoy it. As always for Wes Anderson, the symmetry is perfect, the visuals are perfect, the story is cute and charming and fun. Maybe I just wasn't in the right headspace when I watched it for the first time, but yeah. 3 stars. The Darjeeling Limited is the next Wes Anderson movie I watched. Things don't always go as expected when 3 American brothers mourning the loss of their father embark on a spiritual bonding trip across India to visit their mother who's entered a convent in the Himalayas. It was enjoyable but isn't my favorite Wes Anderson movie. 3 stars. Next, Pride and Prejudice. Sparks fly when spirited Elizabeth Bennet meets a single, rich and proud Mr. Darcy. But Mr. Darcy reluctantly finds himself falling in love with a woman beneath his class. Can each overcome their own pride and prejudice? Believe it or not, this is my first time watching this movie. While watching it, I thought it was weirdly paced and I was wondering if it's the same in the book. At least the romance. The romance felt weirdly paced. The scene where Mr. Darcy confesses his love, this "I love you most ardently," it kinda is my favorite scene, but not because he confesses, but because they have a fight. It was the kind of tension where I was like, now kiss, but I didn't see the confession coming. To me, it came out of nowhere, but I also feel like you have to watch it more than once to fully grasp what makes it good. Another thing I don't understand is why so many people want a Mr. Darcy. What makes him so alluring? I just don't get it. Apart from that though, it's very picturesque and I kind of think the dad is quite sweet. 4 stars. Blue Lock episode Nagi is about Seishiro Nagi before he enters the titular Blue Lock facility. I initially wanted to go to the movies for this one and I'm so glad I didn't, because it's just a rehash of the first season from Nagi's perspective, essentially. You get no new information. It was a bit disappointing, so 2 stars. Inside Out 2 is a sequel that features Riley entering puberty and experiencing brand new, more complex emotions as a result. As Riley tries to adapt to her teenage years, her old emotions try to adapt to the possibility of being replaced. It's a heartfelt movie that is quite relatable to many of us, I would say. I did like the first one better though, so 4 stars. Utsukushi Kare Eternal. The quiet, friendless loner at the bottom of the class falls in love at first sight with the overwhelmingly beautiful, ruthless, and popular King Kyoi. The movie is the final sequel to an entire series, so I'm going to recap all of this when I talk about the first 2 seasons in the show section later. I can already say that I enjoyed it more than the second season. 3 stars. Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim. I hope I pronounced that correctly. A son attacked by wolf, a clever and ruthless Dunlanding lord, seeking vengeance for the death of his father, forces Helm Hammerhand, the king of Rohan, and his people to make a daring last stand in the ancient stronghold of Hornburg. I was hyped to watch it because it's an anime. I like the art and the animation. The art is honestly so good that some of the backgrounds didn't look like drawings but actual real-life pictures. The plot, however, was Just for full disclosure, I've never read anything of the additional background information that's out there, so I also had no idea what this is gonna be about. I just went into it because it's an anime about Lord of the Rings. However, there were less fantasy elements than expected, which was a bit disappointing. It's mainly just humans fighting each other, and no spoilers, but this motherfucker. He's handsome, but annoying. It's always the pretty ones. 3 stars. The life aquatic with Steve Zissou. With a plan to exact revenge on a legendary shark that killed his partner, oceanographer Steve Zissou rallies a crew that includes his estranged wife, a journalist, and a man who may or may not be his son. Another charming and enjoyable Wes Anderson. It's equal parts fun as it is tragic. 4 stars. The French Dispatch. Following the death of Arthur Howitzer, editor of the French Dispatch, Howitzer's staff convened to write his obituary, leading to the creation of 4 stories. And this sums it up quite well. It's basically 4 short stories, similar to an anthology, but it's naturally all connected with a red thread since they're all working for the same newspaper. And I have to say I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it more than Darjeeling Limited. And I also have to say I'm usually not a big fan of artsy movies, but Wes Anderson movies don't feel as pretentious and are visually pleasing. I don't know how it does it, because the characters aren't very relatable to me, but they're generally likable nonetheless. Whatever he does, it appeals to me. 4 stars. Isle of Dogs. The mayor of Nagasaki orders all the dogs to be quarantined on an island after the outbreak of canine flu. A young boy arrives on the isle to search for his dog with the help of a few excited mongrels. Another Wes Anderson movie, but not the last on my list. What can I say? I had a Disney Plus subscription for a month and it really shows. I had to catch up on all the Wes Anderson movies I hadn't seen yet. It's another stop-motion movie I enjoyed. 3 stars. Rushmore. Max, a student at Rushmore Academy, excels at everything except academics. He meets and falls in love with a teacher, Miss Cross, but later discovers that his mentor is also in love with her. This is the last Wes Anderson movie on my list and the most normal, meaning that it's easy to digest for a mainstream audience. But it still has this Wes Anderson touch. Once I realized how normal it is, I figured that it had to be one of his earlier works, and I was right, it's the second one. Now I've watched all except the first and the newest, which is an anthology on Netflix. Despite being quite normal, Rushmore is still a good movie. 3 stars. In Fresh, the horrors of modern dating are seen through the eyes of a young woman who is battling to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetites. Fresh has a lot of sensual shots, but not in an erotic way, if that makes any sense. It's quite focused on food for reasons. It was a lot of fun to watch. I do have to say though, if you're scared of men, maybe you shouldn't watch it. Though I have to say we get a lot of girl power, and every character gets revenge on their respective person. The end was quite satisfying. I also wanted to mention that I always wanted to play a role like Sebastian Stan's in this movie. 4 stars. Not okay. An ambitious young woman finds followers and fame when she poses as the survivor of a deadly attack, but she soon learns that online notoriety comes with a terrible price. What I very much liked about this movie is that you have a trigger warning in the beginning, which warns you of an unlikable character. Though I have to say, I didn't think she was that unlikable. Compared to her, the main character of my comic is truly unlikable. She does have a very cute dad though, and I also like the anime very much. 3 stars. Murder on the Orient Express. When a murder occurs on the train on which he's traveling, celebrated detective Hercule Poirot is recruited to solve the case. It's the 2017 adaptation of the Agatha Christie novel. The first contact I had with anything related to Agatha Christie was A Haunting in Venice from 2023, so 2 years ago, because my mom asked me if we wanted to go to the movies. Funnily enough, even though it's called A Haunting in Venice, we had no idea how scary it is, and we both don't like scary movies. As for Murder on the Orient Express, I really like the conclusion. 3 stars. And next is Death on the Nile, a mystery thriller about the emotional chaos and deadly consequences triggered by obsessive love. Again, the modern adaptation from 2022. Since I already watched A Haunting in Venice and now also Murder on the Orient Express, and as I mentioned before, had a Disney Plus subscription, I was like, let's just watch the next one as well. After watching these 2 movies, I noticed a pattern. Poirot is always on vacation, just wants to chill, doesn't want to work, which is relatable when you're on vacation, but the cases just follow him, and he's always asked to solve them because he's like the only competent detective in the group. Then the murder always happens between midnight and 2 a.m. and I always know who the victim is because they always put the victim at the center of the movie poster. In Death on the Nile, the murder occurs 1 hour into the movie, which was kind of dragging because it went on and on and on, and I was like, I know who's going to die. When is that person finally going to die? I also like the conclusion of this movie though, so 3 stars. Nosferatu is a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake. Nosferatu is a modern adaptation of a movie with the same name. The original movie is from 1922 and was one of the first horror movies, and since it's so old, it also was a silent movie. I was really looking forward to this because I've never seen the original, but I do like vampires and I was very intrigued. However, this movie was quite disappointing because it wasn't as vampire-y as I wanted it or expected it to be. Then it was also very boring, not scary at all, and at times it was quite dragging. I honestly have to say I can't watch it again because it was really hard to not fall asleep. I will still give it a high rating because I still had fun despite it being so boring because I was watching it with a group of friends. 3 stars. And the last one, Our Little Secret. 2 resentful exes must awkwardly spend Christmas together after they learn that their new partners are siblings. Each year before Christmas, I bake cookies. And while I bake cookies, I watch Christmas movies. Because you don't have to pay that much attention, you know? It's a Christmas movie, what do you expect? However, this felt more like a rom-com with Christmas on the side. Was a bit disappointing. The love interest is an asshole, but feels like the lesser of 2 evils, so I don't know if it was the best choice, but whatever. I did have a little laugh though. 2 stars. Shows. I watched Worst Ex Ever, The Spy Realm, Invincible Season 2, Fallout, Emily in Paris Season 4, I think. The newest one. Husband Hotel, Tiger King, Season 2, Monsters, Lyle and Eric Menendez Story, Mia the Blossom, Utsukushikare Season 1 and 2, Genvi, Heartstopper Season 3, Chaos, Lockwood & Co, Hello Boss Season 1 and 2, The Bear Season 3, Loki Season 2, Agatha All Along, Only Murders in the Building Season 4, Not That Yet, Reservation Dogs Season 1 and 2, Fresh Off the Boat Season 4 to 6, The Emperor Season 2, The Discounter Season 4, Bob's Burgers Season 14, Murder at the End of the World, Squid Game, and The Boyfriend. Whew. Worst ex ever. From chilling betrayals to murder plots, this true crime docu-series dissects the dark side of love through eyewitness testimonies. I think it's 3 episodes. The stories are truly horrifying. I just watched it because I also watched Worst Roommates Ever or something like that. But as always, it's just one side of the story. 3 stars. The Spiral. Ling Junshi finds himself inexplicably thrust inside a mind-bending reality dictated by an enigmatic virtual reality game where he must pass 12 doors to escape. The catch? Each door initiates new mysteries to solve and conditions to abide by. Now, first of all, my brain always wants to say Spirit Realm instead of Spy Realm. Just a little side fun fact. One door stretches over multiple episodes. I think it's quite a smart way to include multiple genres in one series. I liked the premise, but the execution is a bit The characters are also a bit I think I watched about half of it and I'm slowly starting to warm up to the main characters at least. The door ghosts are scary though. Not gonna lie, sometimes I'm too scared to look. My favorite story so far is the one with the one-legged girl. I think it's the 4th door ghost. As I said, I haven't finished it yet, but for now I would give it 3 stars. Invincible. After an earth-shattering betrayal, Mark fights to rebuild his life. In the face of apocalyptic threats, he discovers new allies and wrestles with his greatest fear, that he might become his father. It's an adult animated series. It's very bloody, violent and gory, but it's also witty and funny and quite creative. The introduction of the episode title, for example, is always, or I think most of the time, part of a line a character say. I enjoyed the 1st season, I also enjoyed the 2nd season, 4 stars. Fallout. In a future post-apocalyptic Los Angeles brought about by nuclear decimation, citizens must live in underground bunkers to protect themselves from radiation, mutants, and bandits. I love this show. It's based on a game, of course. I've never played the game. I've only seen a few tidbits here and there, and I thought it was about something completely different. And I also thought it was a bit more serious, but it's so fun. I also didn't expect to like the main character Lucy as much as I did, but she's such a positive and optimistic, naive ray of sunshine, but she's also very skilled and capable. I just love her. It's an overall good show, 5 stars. Emily in Paris. After landing her dream job in Paris, Chicago marketing exec Emily Cooper embraces her adventurous new life while juggling work, friends, and romance. Don't ask me why I'm still watching it, but I started it, so I will finish it, but it's really painful to be honest. Only thing I like about the show is the detail that the French people, when talking to each other, speak strictly in French. I really hate in movies when 2 native speaking people still speak English even though they're talking to each other, so that's a nice detail. The script is so bad. Everything is just so, whenever I watch it, I cringe. 1 star. Hazbin Hotel. The daughter of Lucifer opens a rehabilitation hotel that offers a group of misfit demons a chance at redemption. Hazbin Hotel is an animated musical series, which I didn't know, so once the first song played, I was hooked instantly. I love all the characters because they're all so flamboyant. My favorite is Alistair. I do want to make a video about it in the future, so 5 stars. Tiger King Season 2. I know that's old news, but I watched the first season when it was hyped, and then I just saw that a second season aired sometime, and then I had some time, and then I finally watched it. I don't really think I have to explain what it's about. It's not really worth mentioning anyways. 2 stars. Monsters, the Lion and Eric Menendez story. This true crime drama probes the lives of the Menendez brothers convicted of the brutal 1989 murders of their parents in Beverly Hills. While I don't like true crime very much because it kind of exploits victims and over dramatizes true stories, I think that's quite heartless and insensitive. Now, of course, you can ask the question, then why did you watch it? I didn't know. I didn't know it was a true story. I'm sure it was mentioned somewhere, but I guess I didn't see it. But whatever. It is well made, it's a very good production, and I also like that it focuses on male trauma, which is an important topic which we don't talk about enough. I even wrote down in my notes, if this really happened, I ain't even mad at the boys. What I didn't like about this show is that they try to explain the behavior as if that excuses anything. So I initially gave it 4 stars, but it went down to 3 stars due to the last episodes. Meet You at the Blossom. The son of the richest man in Jiangnan region falls in love with the icy, white-clad beauty Huayan through an unexpected encounter. I think it's a cute drama. I do have to admit though that the drama feels a bit rushed, but it didn't really bother me, to be honest. And that's basically all I have to say about the show. It's so stupid, it's cute again. And I might consider making a video about it. Not sure about that though. 4 stars. Then another drama, Utsukushi Kare Season 1 and 2. 17-year-old Hira tries to remain invisible at school, never wanting to expose his stuttering speech to his classmates. He views the world through his camera lens, detached, until one day Kyoiso walks through the classroom door. The drama has very little episodes, and due to that it's quite fast paced. We have a lot of plot happening in only 6 episodes in each season. It's kind of cute but also kind of weird. Season 1 was still watchable, I guess, but season 2? Season 2 was an entire step back. The whole drama feels so artificial. I mentioned the movie earlier. The movie should have been season 2 and then it would have been good. Honestly, if you want to watch it, watch season 1 and the movie. Skip season 2. It's so unnecessary. Also, Kyoi is so cute and he deserves so much better. Season 1 has 3 stars. Season 2 gets 2 stars. Gen V. The lives of hormonal competitive superheroes as they put their physical, sexual and moral boundaries to the test. Gen V is a spin-off to The Boys and the level of gore is exactly the same as The Boys. The setting is a bit different because you have teens in an academic setting, which I like very much actually. But I don't just like the setting, I liked also the characters and the plot. 4 stars. Heartstopper Season 3. Teens Charlie and Nick discover their unlikely friendship might be something more as they navigate school and young love. Though Season 3 focuses more on Charlie's health journey. And here's a question. Am I the only one who doesn't like it that much? I feel like it's supposed to be cozy and wholesome, but to me it just feels boring and slightly cringe. I also have beef with visual cues. I get it, they're supposed to be a nod to the comic, but they just make me feel stupid sometimes, as if I don't know what's happening in that moment. I do like the comic panel transitions, and I also like the visualization of the mental illness in the last season, but everything else, like the butterflies and the sparks, kind of gives the audience doesn't understand that there's romantic chemistry between the 2 characters right now. Apart from that, it's very on the nose in general. The only thing I do like about this show though is the teachership. And here's some truth.
I'm so alone.
Okay, what are we, your imaginary friends?
You can't keep making your whole life your relationship, Tao.
2 stars. Chaos. As discord reigns on Mount Olympus and almighty Zeus spirals into paranoia, 3 mortals are destined to reshape the future of humankind. I honestly like this modern take on myth, or I guess it's more like myth in a modern age. However, it very obviously ends with a teaser for the 2nd season, but it was cancelled. So even though I enjoyed it very much, I'm sad that it's not going to get continued. 3 stars. A girl with psychic abilities joins 2 teen boys at the ghost hunting agency Lockwood & Co. to fight the deadly spirits plaguing London, doing their best to save the day without any adult supervision. A viewer recommended the show to me, and since I already had it on my watch list, I was like, let's go! Unfortunately, it was also cancelled, just like Dead Boy Detectives. It's way spookier than Dead Boy Detectives. It also has a few jump scares, which I didn't appreciate. And to me, it's about poor little George who's losing his bestie. 3 stars. Hell of a boss. In hell, Imp Blitzdeo is silent, runs an assassin business targeting the world of the living, using a spellbook borrowed from a prince of hell. With employees Moxie, Millie, and Luna, they attempt to survive each other while keeping business afloat. Hell of a boss is from the same creator as Has Been Hotel. The beginning of the first season is quite hectic and the first few episodes are quite short, and I have to say, when I started it, I was like, nah, Has Been Hotel is better, Has Been Hotel is better. But the more I watched, the more I fell in love with the characters, and now I'm torn. I love both very much, but maybe I love Hell of a Boss a bit more because they make me feel so sad for a fucking owl. I might also make a video about this one. Maybe even Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss combined. 5 stars. The Bear. A young chef from the fine dining world returns to Chicago to run his family's sandwich shop. You probably could say that this season had an interesting opening if you remembered what happened before. But I didn't. I noticed that each episode kind of has a different mood, which was very interesting to be honest. And it seems that each episode focused on a different character, which honestly is one of my favorite things. 3 stars. Loki Season 2. Mercurial Villain. The mercurial villain Loki resumes his role as the god of mischief in a new series that takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Don't get me wrong, I love Loki. I love the movie Loki, but I don't like Loki the show. Honestly, it kinda destroyed him for me. 2 stars. Agatha All Along. A spellbound Agatha Harkness regains freedom thanks to the teen's help. To a teen's help. Intrigued by his plea, she embarks on the Witch's Road trials to reclaim her powers and discover the teen's motivations. Unlike Loki, I enjoyed this very much. And honestly, it's been a long time since I've enjoyed watching something from Marvel. I initially didn't want to watch it at all, but something about it intrigued me, so I gave it a go and I'm very happy about it because it's a very good standalone, I guess. Also, the teen is played by the same actor as Charlie in Heartstopper, and I like him and his character so much more than Agatha All Along. 3 stars. Only Murders in the Building Season 4. 3 strangers who live in the same New York City apartment building and share an obsession with true crime suddenly find themselves embroiled in murder over and over and over again. At the end of season 3, a beloved character dies and they solve the murder of that character in season 4. Only Murders in the Building is an insanely good show. I might have mentioned it somewhere before, but sometimes shows have the tendency to decline in the quality the longer the show goes on. But we've already have 4 seasons now and Only Murders in the Building has a constant good quality. I can only recommend it. Just like the seasons before, I also enjoyed the 4th season, 4 stars. Not Dead Yet follows Nell Serrano, broke, newly single, and feeling old, who's working to restart the life and career she left behind 10 years ago. I honestly only clicked on this show because of the actress of the main character. I don't know her name, but I know her from Jane the Virgin. And the show is so funny, but also oddly heartfelt. It's something that I would call a comfort comedy, but sadly, it was cancelled after 2 seasons. I don't think that was planned because the last episode doesn't feel like an ending. And it makes me really sad because it was so fun to watch. 5 stars. Reservation Dogs is a half-hour comedy that follows the exploits of 4 indigenous teenagers in rural Oklahoma. It is enjoyable. It's also fun to watch in the moment, but I have to say it didn't blow me away. There is a kind of underlying plot, but sometimes the red thread is missing, and I have to be honest, I think it might be quite forgettable. 3 stars. Fresh Off the Boat, Season 4 to 6. During the 1990s, an immigrant Taiwanese family makes an attempt to adjust to socio-cultural and socio-economic reality of living in the US. Fresh Off the Boat is one of my favorite comedies. It was a comfort show to me during my time in university. Somehow I only ended up watching the first 3 seasons, but I finally caught up to the rest and I still love it. 4 stars. The Empress Season 2. When rebellious Elizabeth torn between obligation and passion, Emperor Franz Joseph follows his heart and marries rebellious, mesmerizing Elizabeth, a most unlikely empress. I randomly watched the first season when it aired and enjoyed it much more than expected. Somehow it managed to capture me. I feel like this might be a more realistic, albeit obviously over-dramatized as opposed to a lot of other more romanticized versions of her. While watching the show, I sometimes even forget that it's based on real people. It also managed what school never could. Not only did it make me understand history and politics, but it also piqued my curiosity. I wanted to do some research, read up on what really happened, but I didn't have the time yet. Just maybe one small negative point. I can't remember if I watched the first season in German because it's a German production, but I usually watch everything in the original version. However, I don't remember that the dialogues in the first season were as stilted as they were in the second season. Sometimes. Not all the time. But I also might be romanticizing the first season because I remember it so fondly. 5 stars. The Discounters. A group of young supermarket employees face the daily challenges of the store. Led by store manager Thorsten, the employees try to master all the disasters and dramas. It's another German series. To be precise, it's a mockumentary in a German supermarket. It reminded me a bit of Superstore, which is another one of my comfort shows because it helped me through a very rough time. But the supermarket is less prestige, I guess. The show is similar to The Office. It's so awkward that it was a big cringe at first, but once you understand it's part of its charm, it's a real fun show. I'm also super sad that it's over because I didn't expect this season to be the last one. 5 stars. It's getting so dark, but if I turn on the light, I can't use my green screen. Okay, let's go. Bob's Burgers season 14. Bob Belcher runs a struggling burger shop with his wife and 3 children. I think I mentioned Bob's Burgers in one of my videos before. I still love it. 4 stars. A murder at the end of the world. Janice C, amateur sleuth, Darby Hart, and 8 other guests are invited by a reclusive billionaire to participate in a retreat at a remote location. When one of the guests is found dead, Darby must use her skills to prove it was murder. I don't like it. I don't like the show, but I do like Bill. I have to say, it's not what I expected. The beginning wasn't too intriguing, but then it takes an unexpected turn, but then still not intriguing. It's a nice thriller, but nothing that blows me away. In my opinion, it's riddled with plot holes or illogical actions of characters, which was really frustrating in a show that tries to be so smart. It's also unnecessarily complex. It gets 1 star because of Bill. Squid Game. Hundreds of cash-strapped players accept a strange invitation to compete in children's games. Inside, a tempting prize awaits with deadly high stakes. Except that in the second season, our protagonist Gihun participates again because he wants to put an end to these horrible games. So, first of all, I loved the first season and I was so looking forward to the second season. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed. But first of all, what immediately caught my eye was the use of light. The show has overall a good production quality, intriguing characters, and maintains high thriller tension even throughout the second season. I think what I love most about the show, apart from the contrast of children's games mixed with violence, is that the show pretty much holds a mirror in front of our face. With the difference that we're not watching actual people dying. But basically, we as the audience are appalled by the rich people in the show who watch other people die for fun. But aren't we doing the same here? So I just thought that's interesting food for thought. As grotesque as it sounds, the kids' games combined with the violence is what makes it so intriguing. And if the games are missing in the third and maybe even last season, I feel like it might lose its charm. Honestly, I can't imagine what's supposed to happen in the third season, and I also couldn't think of a way that would justify Gihun being back in the games a third time. But we'll see. As for the second season, we had a long foreplay before the actual games start. It takes 2 of 7 episodes until we finally get the first game. Then there's more focus on the characters than the games in this season. I think, at least I don't remember that we had that much focus on the characters in the first season, but I'm not complaining, just observing. And since we're already talking on characters, try to change my mind. But this guy looks like the Korean Mads Mikkelsen. Another difference, I think, because I don't remember that much, is that we also have the perspective of a pink guy in this season, which was also a nice change in a fun addition, I guess. I honestly can't wait for season 3. I really hope it won't take too long until it airs, but I also don't want it to be rushed at the cost of production quality. My final thought for this season is Hannibal is in love with 456. 4 stars. And the last show, The Boyfriend. Over the course of a month, a group of men live under one roof and run a coffee truck together to connect and hopefully meet their one true boyfriend. It's a Japanese reality show that was cancelled, which unfortunately makes sense. To be honest, while watching it, I already figured it would be cancelled because it's a bit too peculiar. There's not much drama, it might be a bit too calm and slow for the mainstream audience. Unlike Western or American reality shows, in Japanese reality reality shows and in some other Asian countries as well, you always have famous people commenting what just happened, which puts the scenes they just watched in perspective. I am kind of torn between the commentary because on the one hand, it just recaps what literally happened a second ago, and on the other hand, it helps you put it into perspective, but do you really need it? It's not giving much faith into the audience, in my opinion, but it didn't bother me. Also, the comments can be fun too. What I wanted to say about the participants is that I appreciated how open and honest they communicated about their feelings and all. It was quite cute and cozy, to be honest, and also just because it wasn't as dramatic as American reality shows can be, there's still drama. There have been choices that I couldn't comprehend. Overall, it's quite cute though. If there was another season, I would watch it. 4 stars. Next up, books. I read Aha 6, Yuwu 4 and 5, Ballad of Sword and Wine Volume 2, and My Own Story. And that's it. Aha Volume 6. After 2 lifetimes of misunderstandings, Moran and Chuaning have at last opened their hearts to one another. Yet the pair must put aside the bloom of new love all too soon because evil things are happening. First of all, I wanted to mention that I'm not the biggest fan of certain age gaps, especially if they contain a power imbalance, such as teacher and student. And then we also have the teacher falling for the student first, which is giving me the ick, even if he doesn't act on it until the student is an adult and makes the first move, and even that not right away. But I just can't help liking Chuaning, because apart from his questionable romantic interest, he's just so relatable, and I'm totally rooting for him. I also have to say Chuaning is basically the only reason why I'm still reading this, because the plot is not very intriguing. I don't really care who the culprit is, and most of the time even forget that there is one. And then we have the over-explanations, where the story shows what's happening and then explains what happened right after. I feel like it's a bit too wordy, which became especially obvious in the non-romance part of the plot. Another thing that I noticed is, since we have the 2 lifetimes, I feel like the author couldn't decide which dynamic to choose, the toxic one or the wholesome one, so we just got both. Nevertheless, due to Chuaning, 3 stars. You Volume 4. Guang has emerged from the time era a changed man. With his shattered memories recovered, he sets out to distance himself once more from his erstwhile lover, Moshi. Meanwhile, Moshi's own experience in the time era has left him more certain than ever that some secrets still linger behind Guang's treasonous defection 8 years ago. He's determined to dig up the truth at any cost, even the cost of his own life. So dramatic. I'll just merge it with Yuwu Volume 5. Now that Moshi has uncovered the truth after 8 long years, he and Gumon finally have a chance to clear away the lies of the past. Despite his efforts to remain lucid, Gumon's memories from the time era continue to slip away, and dark magic eats at his mind. Yet peace at home is short-lived as new threats gather at the frontier and some worse stuff is happening. So first of all, in the 4th volume, some of the things are revealed concerning the Emperor, and I feel like we should feel sorry for him, but I just don't, because I'm just not buying the reasoning he gives for the actions he did. Then it also kind of felt like a conclusion to the story, but it seems like we're still far away from the end, and I'm also still quite conflicted about the whole memory loss thing, because that's not a trope I like. After the 5th volume, I also came to the conclusion that I don't feel anything despite the drama and the romance that's happening. More and more secrets are revealed, which continue to be not convincing or believable. Might be due to the long pauses I have between reading the volumes, but again, I'm just not buying it. And then we also have the villain, the Liao Kingdom State Preceptor, who feels too much like a caricature of a villain, so I can't really take him seriously. It kind of makes me sad because I was so excited to read this series, but I'm afraid it kind of lost me. And I tried to figure out why, like what's missing or why I don't like it. And I think what bothers me beside the whole memory loss thing is that they already have an established history. But I prefer to read how they become lovers and the tension until they finally confess and get together. In this series, it's kind of all over the place and it's not very satisfying. Not gonna lie though, they do have sweet moments together, so I'll give it 3 stars for now. The Ballad of Sword and Wine Volume 2. A new emperor has ascended the throne and the court is in flux. As court conspiracies swirl around them, Shenchen and Xiaojie find themselves unlikely allies against a mysterious adversary, pulling the strings behind a series of calamities targeting the Emperor. This book, or this whole series, is so much better written than most of the sea novels that I've read so far. Meaning that there's much less over-explaining and exposition in general, which is a common sickness in this genre. I love to read it despite the plot not being my cup of tea. Like the whole politics and schemes and intrigues, I feel like I have to read it a second time just to grasp it fully. It sometimes feels like I'm reading a piece of history fiction. Non-fiction. A piece of non-fiction about history. I also wanted to point out that there is a map at the beginning, which is very needed, for me at least. Also, this volume stops right when it gets interesting and I feel so robbed. 3 stars. And then we have my own story, which isn't published yet, but I do want to publish it in the near future. The working title is The Human and the Demon, short, that D. I've read the whole thing because I'm currently editing it. It's a prequel to an epic fantasy story, which is also work in progress. Since the prequel is way shorter than the main story, I wanted to work on the shorter story first and finish it. As the title suggests, it's a human that enters the demon realm and things sure do happen. It's gonna be not safe for work, but I will also write a safer for work version. I'm honestly so in love and I can't wait to publish it. If you're interested in that kind of thing, look forward to it. 5 stars, I mean, come on. Anime! I need to catch my breath. I watched Ashinoko Season 2, finished Tasugare Out Focus, I watched Odd Taxi, I watched Downton, Uramichi Onisan, Kamono Hashiron no Ginnan Suiri Season 1 and 2, and Blue Lock Season 2. Ashinoko Season 2 is still about a doctor and his recently deceased patient who are reborn as twins to a famous Japanese music idol. The second season focuses more on a stage play which is based on an in-universe manga. I did like the whole mangaka background though because I could relate. I wouldn't be as harsh if someone were to adapt my comic. General vibe is still meh. Ruby doesn't have as much screen time in this season, and the last episode took a weird turn. I guess I'm just glad that the first episode wasn't feature length again. 3 stars. As I mentioned, I finished Tasugare Out Focus. It's about 2 high school boys, Mao and Hisashi, who set rules to maintain boundaries while sharing a dorm room. But navigating friendship, sexuality, and privacy proves complicated as they learn some things can't be easily promised. The anime introduces several couples, and while I didn't like the first half of the anime, I really liked the second half because the third storyline is very funny. While watching, I wondered why they started with the weakest couple because it just keeps getting better. I have to say Yoshino reminds me a bit of my own protagonist, Yuki, from my comic 2 People, but in Tasugare Out Focus, we have a bit of weird fabricated drama, but my main complaint was that he wants to be kinky, but then it never happened. Where's the promised kink? And the last 2 episodes focus on the first couple again, the main couple. It was still cringe. But anyways, because of the third couple, which I like very much, 3 stars. Tasugare Out Focus is the perfect example why I prefer to watch the whole thing before rating it, because the ending might make a difference. Odd Taxi is about the taxi driver Odakawa, who lives a very mundane life. He has no family, doesn't really hang out with others, and he's an oddball who's narrow-minded and doesn't talk much. I'm usually not a big fan of gangsters, but I like this anime very much. I like the dialogues, which felt naturally despite being rather quick. It's quite philosophical. I enjoyed the random funny moments in between, and Yano completely rizzed me up with his rhymes. The ending is also very good. It made me very emotional. 3 stars. In Dandanan, 2 high school students battle spirits and aliens with their newfound supernatural abilities. I love the animation and I love the characters. It's mostly fun and games, and yes, there's lots of fan service, but the last episode of the first season gave me the 8. Still, 4 stars. Uramichi Onisan! Being an adult is hard, and 31-year-old Uramichi Omota, an upbeat children's TV show host, keeps revealing this truth on the air. I have to say, I started this anime ages ago, but I wasn't in the right mindset, I guess, even though it's so relatable. So I paused it for a long time, finally picked it up again, and I'm so glad I did, because when I finally continued it, I loved it. It also triggered my fanfic urge because it has so much BL potential. 5 stars. Kamano Hashiran, I'm not going to say the full name again, is about an eccentric genius and an unsuccessful police officer who team up to solve a serial murder case. It looked promising, but I was left disappointed. It shares a similar idea with Meitante Conan, but has a worse execution. We have one case per episode or one case over several episodes, but the cases aren't intriguing or smart. I lost interest. The only thing I like is the way Ron flirts with the dead, but apart from that, it's so boring. I literally yawned. 2 stars. And lastly, Blue Lock Season 2. The next phase of the controversial Blue Lock project is on the way, with the candidate pool being dwindled down to just 35. Out of the remaining strikers, only a select few will be chosen to play in an upcoming exhibition game against the U20 Japanese soccer team. I love sports anime, but this one disappoints me because it's the opposite of what I like. This anime focuses on egotism versus team spirit, which is something I'll never understand. You cannot be selfish in a team sport. You cannot carry the game on your own in a team sport. There's a reason why it's played in a team. That's also the first time I got invested in this anime, when they played as a team against a common enemy. I also feel like I remember the main character's personality being different in the first season, but maybe I'm just not remembering it correctly. I also have to say the additional time at the end of each episode is borderline cringe and not in a fun way. But overall, I enjoyed it more than the previous season, so 3 stars. And lastly, manga. I've finished Honor Of, and then I've read all of Blood on the Tracks, Koisuru Tetsumen B, Volume 5, Masho Volume 8 to 15, all of Uramichi Onisan that's currently available. Scammed and Rammed. It's a fun title, but it's also a fun manga. Webcomic, sorry, it's a webcomic, it's Korean. I finally finished Honor Of, which is about Young, who's building a startup with his college friends. They get a chance to present the proposal to SJ Corporation, one of the leading companies in the country. But in the meeting room, he sees Kang Dae-young, don't know how to pronounce it, the extremely handsome company big shot that's so very much his type, and Young's heart starts to race. Can pretty-faced Young win both in love and his career? Yes, he can. I absolutely love this comic because it's not toxic. It's a completely unproblematic relationship. They communicate, they respect each other's boundaries. We stand consensual couples in this household. What else do I love about this comic? It has a cute art style. Young is the kind of bottom I always wanted to see. Honestly, if this comic had existed before I started my comic, I wouldn't have started my comic. In my last video where I talked about this, I said I don't know what the Honor Of stands for, and the final sentence of this comic is thank you for all the love you've shown on or off. And I have to say I still don't get it because they don't have this on or off going on in their relationship, but okay. I love it so much, in fact, that I considered making a video, but I don't have much more to say than what I already said. I'll still give it 5 stars. Blood on the Tracks. Seiichi Osabe is an only child living a mundane life. Just like any middle schooler, he has friends, a crush on a girl, and loving parents. However, Seiichi's mother is extremely overprotective, which causes others to view him as a mama's boy. Although he does not consider her behavior to be unusual, a certain incident starts to open his eyes to just how dangerous her affection is. It's a motherfucking bad choice of words. It's a true piece of art, from the drawings to the plot. The drawings are so elaborate. All of them are done with cross-hatching, which takes a lot of work. This manga does a great job with the depiction of things you can't usually see, like smell or trauma, for example. It's a psychological horror about emotional manipulation and trauma with a slow descent into madness. Blood on the Tracks is what I expected Pun Pun to be. It deals with similar, but also much heavier topics without all this incel shit, and it's so much better. 4 stars. Koisuru Tetsumen P. Yono Kitagawa, the sales department superstar with a reputation of being the most handsome guy in the company, has a secret he can't tell anyone about. He's a scaredy cat who blushes from unexpected events. But the 5th volume isn't about the main couple, it's about the side couple, which I think has taken up more time in the manga now than the actual couple, but it's cute. It's an easy read, a good small space in between my books. 3 stars. Masho Volume 8 to 15. To everyone else in his magic-dominated world, a young and powerless Mash Burnett is a threat to the gene pool and must be purged. Living secretly in the forest, he spends every day training his body, building muscles strong enough to compete with magic itself. However, upon having his identity exposed and his peaceful life threatened, Mash begins his journey to becoming a divine visionary. In order to achieve his goals, Mash will have to fight his way through every trial using his fists alone, all for the illustrious title of divine visionary. I've made videos about the first 2 seasons, go check them out. I love the anime so much that I just couldn't help but buy the manga. And I picked up reading where the anime stops. The manga is just as funny as the anime, obviously. In the manga we have a few pages with background infos, which is just a fun bonus. 5 stars. Same with Uramichi Oni-san. Since I already said what it's about in the anime section, I'm not going to repeat it. And same as with Marshall, I love the anime so much that I just had to buy the manga. I enjoyed it, so still 5 stars. Then we have Scammed and Rammed. I love the title. That's also basically what it's about. It's about a rich, spoiled guy who's sent to Korea to learn how to work and a poor guy who scams others to get by. I just randomly started reading it and I didn't expect it to be so funny. I think I've laughed out loud in every chapter so far. Sadly, there's only around 10ish chapters out yet, but I'm so looking forward to the rest. So usually I don't rate anything if it isn't finished yet, but this brought me so much joy that I just have to give it 4 stars. I also read some Gravitation doujinjis, which was an experience I cannot recommend. Don't get me wrong, I love Gravitation mainly for nostalgic reasons, but I just cannot recommend the doujinjis. Just don't. Ongoing, I've been reading Wet Sand, So which seems to reach its finale, so looking forward to that. 19 Days, Bungo Stray Dogs, Kagodabachi, The Ghost Nocturne, Owari no Seraph, which also seems to come to its conclusion, and Hidorijima, My Hero. I do have to say about the last one though, I have no idea what's going on anymore. It's very convoluted, but I'll still continue reading it. If listening to random people talking about random stuff on the internet appeals to you, leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any topics you'd like to hear me ramble about, leave your suggestion in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye! Do you see that? Not a fan of skin. Ooh. Nope.